I used to teach this book teaches what's called human-centered design. And I'm here to tell everybody that it's wrong.
As a designer, how do you have this multi-perspective view about things?
Because we are teaching badly, not in India, all across the world. We teach a specialty, and it's really boring for people. So don't come to people with problems. Tell them what the answers are.
Were there any other things that you specifically have learned over time to become a better designer?
How many chief executive officers of big companies are designers? Almost none. Why? How come they're all from other fields? Some of them are even majored in literature. So where did they get the expertise? In other words, I blame designers. I blame the education system.
It's like, what is motivating you at this point to learn more and dig deeper, even after so many years? Like, what is driving you?
I want to make a difference in the world. My professors told me I would never succeed because I couldn't write. You may not know how old I am, but in 1 week, I will be 88 years old.
Do you really feel that AI is going to play a massive role, and do you think design is going to change because of AI?
Yes. But
welcome to the Cutting Edge Show. This is a very special episode, not just for you and I, but for UX designers all over the world. Because today, I have the father of UX design, Sir Don Norman, on the show today. Sir Don Norman is a former Apple VP, the founding director of the University of California Design Lab, and principal at the Nielson Norman Group. He was the first person in the world to have the word UX in his job title at Apple in 1993. He's written The Design of Everyday Things, which has helped designers all across the world kickstart their careers. In this episode, Sir Don Norman reveals all his techniques and life advice that you can use to build a successful creative career. He tells what exactly do you need to stand out and become a great professional designer. We're also running a giveaway where once you document your learnings from this video and post on LinkedIn or Instagram, you will stand a chance to win a hardbound copy of his latest book delivered to your doorsteps. The rules for the giveaway are in the description and pinned comment. 3 winners will be shortlisted by my team for winning Sir's latest book. So without wasting any further time, let's get started. Good evening everyone, welcome to the Cutting Edge Show, and today I have one of the most OG design gurus of the entire world. Don, welcome to the Cutting Edge Show. It is a huge honor for me to host you with us.
thank you. I'm delighted to be here.
I just wanted to know what made you agree to come to the show, because we're just beginners. So how did you end up saying yes to this?
Because I'm on a mission. My mission is to change the field of design, to make it more important, to make it more valuable, to make it much more relevant to the needs of the world. And the world has lots of needs today. In fact, that's why I wrote this book. So you probably all know me from my books like this one, right?
Yep.
And this book was a book that, well, it's widely used around the world, in India as well. And it tells you how to make things that are easier to use and easier to understand. And yeah, that's important. But when I thought about the real problems in the world, that wasn't addressing them. And I wanted to address them. I used to teach this book teaches what's called human-centered design. And I'm here to tell everybody that it's wrong. And it's not wrong because of anything that's in here. Everything I say, I think is important. What it's wrong is what it does not say. What it does not say is, hey, folks, when we design these wonderful, beautiful phones or automobiles or computers or appliances, we're destroying the environment. We don't take into account the mining that destroys the world or the manufacturing that puts soot and pollution into the water, into the land, into the air. And I've been to places in India where the people are already trying to solve their problems. And they're very good. They're successful, very nice, clever, things I never would have thought of. But they need help because sometimes they don't have enough money. Sometimes if you're trying to really study, say, the real issues about sanitation or clean water or education or healthcare, it requires government assistance. It's a bigger, more expensive, and it also requires some expert knowledge. So my goal is to say, designers, you should not be telling people what to do. You should be helping them accomplish what they need. I called the methods here human-centered design. And remember, I still think they're good. They're just incomplete. So I'm calling this new method humanity-centered design, which instead of the abbreviation of this is HCD. So I say humanity-centered design is H plus CD. Human-centered design, but more worrying about the whole world and the impact that we are having on this world. So I've been actually working with lots of my friends in India, and one of the things that's interesting is how many new schools are developing. And many of them have come to me and said, "Oh, can you help advise me on your curriculum and how we should teach?" And I say, yes. Why? Because we are teaching badly. Not in India, all across the world. We teach a specialty, and it's really boring for people. And all you learn is your specialty, and you very seldom learn how to apply it. Well, design is about applying. And so I'm here on a crusade to across the world to establish humanity-centered design, not human-centered. And moreover, when there's a real problem, do the politicians ever turn to designers for answers? No. Why not? Well, because designers haven't earned their respect. Designers are so focused on, the wonderful craft that they have. They don't realize that to be successful, especially for changing society, you have to work in politics. Politics is not a bad thing necessarily, because politics is when you have different people with different beliefs, and therefore they're contradicting each other. But each of them is correct from their point of view. So how do you manage to work with them? That's what politics should be about.
But then if a designer wants that responsibility, if a designer wants a seat at the table, what do you think we are missing right now? How can we fill in the gaps? And as you said, how do we apply this as designers?
Well, first of all, there are several rules to filling in the gaps. In your company, don't tell the company that, we're destroying the environment because we're not following the circular economy, et cetera, et cetera. Why don't you? Well, that doesn't do any good. And I keep pointing out, I was a business executive. I did not want people to come to me with problems. It's not because I didn't want to know. I do need to know the problems as an executive. But what I really need is the solutions. So don't come to people with problems. Tell them what the answers are. Now, the answer to pollution is what's called the circular economy, where everything is reusable and there's no waste. That requires changing the entire way you're doing business. And so you can't say, this new circular economy is really good for the environment, because the executives will say, yes, it's good for the environment. We agree with you, but it will make us go out of business because we make money because we sell a new cell phone every 2 years, or we're selling new things, or et cetera, et cetera. Or it's going to cost us more money to implement this. And so you have to have answers to those. And I think part of the answer is we move to a service economy. So we don't sell people automobiles. We sell them transportation. We don't sell people cell phones. We sell them communication.
And what would be the difference? Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, that on the big airplanes, commercial airlines have these huge engines. And it's usually the airline company, not the manufacturer of the airplanes, but the airline company that buys the engines. They have several choices, and they buy them and they put them on. And they're very expensive to buy and very expensive to maintain. And because they have to maintain them and to be safe, they have to say, after every 200 hours of use, we have to take the engine off and maintain it. It's not that it needs it. Not all engines need it then, but that's the safe number. Well, so the big manufacturers of engines now, companies like Rolls-Royce or General Electric, they don't sell you the engine. They'll sell you hours of flight time. So they will simply guarantee you pay us a monthly fee or a yearly fee, and we will make sure that your engines are always working properly. And the engines have sensors, and they radio their status back to the company. And so the company knows, we normally, you say you have to maintain this every 100 hours, but no, this engine is in good shape. It can probably go another 100 hours. And, this engine, we see some problems here. And so we're going to maintain it now. It's only 50 hours, but we're going to take care of that problem before it becomes important. And so they're guaranteeing the maintenance, and it simplifies the life of the airline company, and it actually saves them money. There's another company that sells us truck tires the same way. We will guarantee a certain number of miles, and we will we again have sensors in the truck, in the tires. Now that's a bit too expensive for the home automobile, but it's actually very valuable. But we can do similar things. In the old days, we didn't used to own our telephone. We paid the telephone company a monthly fee, and they guaranteed that our phone service would always work. And if the phone broke, they would come and fix it and give us a new one. Well, again, that's what the service economy would look like. You might pay the same amount of money over time, but it also makes your life easier as a consumer.
When you speak about these things, I feel like you have a very good understanding of how businesses work. And in a lot of cases, as a designer, we often miss out what the business needs and how do you balance those with sustainability goals. So how do you think in these different dimensions? As a designer, how do you have this multi-perspective view about things?
Yes, that would be the next point I was coming to. Today, in many design schools, what do you learn? You learn about design. You may learn about materials and manufacturing methods, but the focus is on design.
I've never been to design school, a self-taught designer.
So how were you educated?
I learned it from YouTube and blogs and books.
Okay.
I studied computer science engineering.
Good. But when you studied computer science and engineering, did you learn about business?
Not really.
Right. But many engineers become heads of companies.
Yeah, correct.
So question, how did they do that? How did they get the knowledge that it takes? Well, many of them they got a master's degree in business, MBA, a Master of Business Administration. Or many of them decided to work if I really want to make a difference in this company, I have to learn more about the company. So they would take courses in finance and accounting and take courses in business models and strategies and marketing. And it's not hard because I'm like you. I never was taught design. But what I did was I made friends with designers. I was at Apple, so I had some of the world's best designers helping me learn. But I also brought my engineering knowledge into design, which made me, I think, even more powerful than the traditional designers because I could understand the technology. And second, in marketing, I asked the marketing people to help me because in my early days at Apple, the CEO called me into his office and said, Don, I was in California, and he said, you have to go to New Jersey on the East Coast, the other side of the United States, tomorrow. Here's your airplane tickets, go. And I went, and there was a big business discussion between Apple and this other company. And I watched the marketing people make these wonderful proposals and statements and arguments. And they would bring in spreadsheets of what it's going to cost and how much money we will gain. So I went to them afterwards and I said, well, how did you do that? How can I learn to do that? And they laughed at me and said, it's really easy. It's nothing magic. So they taught me. And then I learned to read books and so on. Eventually, in fact, I actually was teaching in a business school. I learned so much. But you can learn yourself, and engineers do that. Engineers get promoted because they understand the business issues and the language. If you want to convince your boss, you're a designer, and you think you have an idea of a new product or a new way of making something. How do you convince them? Well, most designers say, we show them pictures or we show them models. And I say, no, you should do that, but that's not how you convince them. You have to show them a spreadsheet showing increased sales and increased profits and increased margins. Do you know what margin means? You probably have to understand that word. Do you know what current cost of money is? Net profit, you have to understand how you compute the current value of money, because you say this might bring in lots of money in 5 years. Well, but lots of money in 5 years is not worth very much today. And there's an equation you can compute, and you have to learn those things. And how do you know the numbers of sales and so on? You make them up. Now, the executives know you're making them up. They know there's no way of getting good numbers. So they ask you, what were your assumptions? What computation did you do? What kind of data did you base it on? And as long as it's sensible, then they're willing to listen to you. But again, this is what everybody does. It's nothing magic. It's just that designers somehow, I don't want to go politics. I don't like to be an executive. I don't want to be managing. Well, that's okay. Not everybody has to do it, but at least a few. How many chief design officers do we have in big companies? Maybe 20 in the world. Why?
Yeah.
That's stupid. They have a lot of power when they get there. How many chief executive officers of big companies are designers? Almost none. Why? How come they're all from other fields? Some of them are even majored in literature. So where did they get the expertise? In other words, I blame designers. I blame the education system, and I blame designers. And here's another issue. In education, we insist that everybody work by themselves. We grade them. In the real world, you don't work by yourself. If I ask you a question as a teacher, I ask you a question and I say, here's a question I want you to come back and write and give a report. You're supposed to do it by yourself. And I say, no. If I'm working for a company and my boss comes and says, I don't understand what this chat GPT is and how it might affect us. Would you give me next week I want you to come and give a presentation about it. And you say, I don't really know. But what do? You ask your friends. You go around and find who is the person who knows most about it, and you ask them to help you. Now, if you do that in the university, it's called cheating. And so I say, I want to encourage you to cheat. Why is it cheating? It's cheating because you have to make believe it's your own work. And I say, no, I want the university to encourage you to ask your friends. If somebody's written a paper that about the topic, you have to write a paper, and you see that, it's a good paper, you want to copy part of it, copy it. But give credit. That's why it isn't cheating. You say where it came from. When I write my books, like this new book, in many ways, what's new about this book is not the ideas in the book. What's new is the framework in which I put those ideas. But every one of those ideas has been said by lots of other people, the problems and also the solutions. I consider that a good thing because that means that I'm not just some weird person, complaining or giving weird solutions. These are really out there in the world and there's evidence. But I always say where it comes from. I always give credit to the people who have already done it. That's why it's not cheating.
That's
So
very interesting. But then, the kind of audience that we have built here on our channel, they keep messaging me that, Ansh, we don't have access. You just said that you had access to some great designers, you had access to courses. How can a designer plan her career when she doesn't have access to such good people and is
what
just
do you mean you don't
confused?
have access? Are you still in school? Well, there must be professors in these other fields. You just never thought of going to them. You have all those other experts in the company. You just have to become friends with them. Go out drinking with them at night. That's where they'll tell you the stories about how things are really happening. You have to be friends with them. In the business time, they'll say, we don't have any time to talk to you. But if you become friends with them and then you go out with them, you're going to learn a lot. And you can even ask them, well, so where do I read? What can I read so that when you're reading and you really don't understand it, then you can come to them with questions. And usually you can find a few people who just love to answer your questions.
What are these core motivations behind you going and doing all of this? Like, what is motivating you at this point to learn more and dig deeper, even after so many years? Like, what is driving you?
I want to make a difference in the world. My thing that has always driven me, that's always driven me is my philosophy is I want to do important things and have fun while doing it. And so I've learned about the things I'm good at, and I try to do things that I'm good at, and I know what I'm bad at, and I try to avoid the things that I'm bad at. Now, for some things, when I started a long time ago, I was good at understanding things and putting them together in novel ways. I was good at taking different people's points of view and taking work from different fields and combining them in interesting new ways. But what I was really bad at was writing. My professors told me I would never succeed because I couldn't write. And I said, I don't care because I'll do some good work and other people will write it up. And I was not going to be a professor, and that I was going to work in companies. So most of my life has been accidents. I started off as an engineer, and I accidentally got into psychology. But what I did was took all my engineering knowledge and I applied it in psychology and helped invent a new field called human information processing psychology. And that became cognitive psychology, which became cognitive science. And using the mathematics and the tools of engineering to apply to psychology has been very powerful. Neural networks are one of the results of that. I've been moving from place to place, and I decided that writing was going to be important if I wanted to work with other people and convince people. So I taught myself how to write, but I asked for lots of advice. I read lots of books, and I studied other writers. And, I used to have to read scientific papers in my fields, and there were papers I couldn't understand. And I just said, well, I'm not smart. I can't understand it. But as I learned I learned about reading good authors and how easy it was to understand them. I realized it wasn't that I was stupid. It was that those papers were so badly written, nobody could really understand it. And, I worked with some friends of mine. We were writing papers, and one of my friends said, it's not my job. I want to write out my ideas. I don't have to make it clear and understandable. That's the job of the reader. If they want to understand what I'm doing, they'll just have to work. And I say no, because they won't read it. They just simply will refuse to read it. Yeah, the professor might assign it, but they still won't read it. And so I learned how to write, and I learned to write the way I talk. So if you read my books, you can hear me talking in it. So the voice that I've used in these books is me talking to you, just like I'm talking to you now. That actually doesn't work when you're writing a scientific paper. When I started doing this and I submitted a paper to a very important journal in psychology, a paper on human error, the editor sent it back to me like in an hour and said, come on. I knew the editor, he knew me, so he said, come on, Don. And so I had to rewrite it to be less interesting and take away the stories. But so as a result, today I don't publish in journals very much. I publish in books because that's where I have the freedom to tell stories.
Are there any specific ways that you think that have helped you grow faster? Like, as you said, you started to learn how to write. Were there any other things that you specifically have learned over time to become a better designer?
Yes. I always test everything I'm doing when I'm writing. I don't publish anything until my wife has read it. And my wife is very good. First of all, she's a good writer. But second of all, if I give it to my friend and say, give me feedback, my friends say, oh, that's very nice. If I give it to my wife, she says, come on, this is nonsense. This you've repeated 3 different times. Why don't you decide which one you want and just keep it? You go on too long here. And she makes it tighter and better. So finding good critics who help you make it better is very valuable. In design, I always test. I think I'm an expert in human behavior, and when I design something, I use all my expertise. I make sure even as I'm thinking of the ideas, I'm testing them. Sometimes I test just by drawing a sketch and asking people to make believe it's real. And I discover most of the time that I'm wrong. And so I'm always open to criticism. One of my favorite sayings is that if I give a talk or write something, and you tell me, that was very nice, thank you very much. Well, that's nice to hear, but I don't learn anything. If you tell me I was wrong, so I want to then talk to you. And if you convince me I'm wrong, good. Because look, if I'm wrong, I want to know. And I'll change what I'm doing. Now, sometimes you can't convince me. I decide, no, you don't understand what I'm trying to say. Well, that's good too. I've learned something. I've learned that I'm not explaining it very well. So getting feedback, especially negative feedback, is very important. And so I seek it out. And I'm always changing my mind. And that's what scientists do. In science, you learn that if when some new evidence comes, you change your mind. That's what you're supposed to do in science. Science is not a body of facts. Science is a way of learning, getting more knowledge. So I apply that in all of my work.
In almost every answer, you emphasize the importance of having friends and human beings and human feedback. And for the last 6 months, we've been hearing things that why don't you use AI to get feedback? Design is going to get replaced by AI. Like, where do you see this trend going? Like, do you really feel that AI is going to play a massive role? And do you think design is going to change because of AI? Here are some important notes from the podcast. A lot of designers forget to address the influence our products have on the environment and humanity in general. Most designers focus on human-centric design or HCD, but the new world needs humanity-centric design or H plus CD. Most designers consider designing beautiful ideas, but they often miss the environmental impact of shipping all these beautiful products. This could be all the mining or the pollution in the air or water or even land. Your CTA is to pick any one product you use on a daily basis and sit for 10 minutes to figure out what all resources and processes would have come in place to build this product. Are there any better ways and more sustainable ways to design the same? Next, there are many smart designers in India who are solving problems well, but they also need support. They need assistance and support from the system so these efforts can scale well. Your CTA is just to be mindful that we have some amazing designers in the country. All we need is more people and associations pitching in. And if we, as young students of design, learn these fundamentals in the beginning itself, once we step out for work, we would essentially revolutionize the way products are designed and built, not just in India, but all over the world. Next, we need to be mindful of the impact we have on this world as designers. We not only need to consider what we design, but also the influence it has on people, the world, and the resources that it will consume at scale. Your CTA is to reframe how you see yourself and the impact of your work. If you're designing anything, realize that there are a lot of second degree and third degree outcomes of what you create for this world. It's not just an app or a product. It has potential to influence multiple lives and the planet as well. Next, there are a lot of new design schools developing. This is important because all over the world, design is taught just as a specialty. And very rarely do students learn how to apply it with other subjects combined. And design is all about applying. We have launched detailed UX and design thinking videos, all for free on our YouTube channel as well as a free learning platform called learnuiux.in that'll teach you everything about the basics of design, problem solving, case studies, and job applications. You'll find all the free links in description. Next, don't expect businesses to change just because it is good for the environment. You need to design solutions that help businesses make profit and at the same time choose sustainable and scalable solutions. Saving the world is not a good enough incentive for businesses to shift everything. Your CTA is to notice how non-designer executives speak during meetings. What do they prioritize? How do they think? If you work from home, start reading business blogs from Harvard Business Review or The Ken. You can also watch business case studies like by my friend Ganesh Prasad on his Think School YouTube channel. Next, when it comes to pitching ideas, always include numbers that show clear profits and growth. Business people prefer spreadsheets that call out increasing sales and profits with proper data. As a designer, you can always learn these complementary skills so that you share the same vocabulary as your non-design colleagues in the same company. You need to explicitly call out why your design decisions are good, not just from a conceptual perspective, but also from a data-backed business perspective as well. Your CTA is to schedule some time and learn the basics of Google Sheets, Excel, and figure out how to make graphs inside Google Slides or even Keynote or whatever presentation tool that you use. It is a super important skill, not just for work, but also for personal organization. Next, even Don Norman's professors thought that he will struggle in life. Even Don had to spend extra time improving his writing. If such a legendary person had issues as a young student, then why are you so hard on yourself? You can also spend dedicated time on learning how to write, on your soft skills, communication, and with time, you will evolve. Next, Don has a really good habit of discussing problems with his friends, colleagues, and testing everything very well. We shouldn't feel shy asking help from people. Traditionally, taking help from others for a project is considered cheating. But in the real world, you can get a lot of great things done if you take help from other smart people. Your CTA is to start building a habit of getting feedback from friends and students around you. This habit can really go a long way. Next, don't be afraid of getting negative feedback. You are not your work. Negative feedback is a really useful tool to step back and re-look at what you have created. Practice seeking and digesting negative feedback. Now you can download a free PDF of these notes from the link in description. The second half of the notes will come at the end of this video. Do you really feel that AI is going to play a massive role, and do you
computer-assisted design, which is widely used by engineers. When it first came out, engineers hated it. They said, no, I can do it better than that. The same actually, for that matter, with even compilers. Engineers said, no, I can program the code better than this compiler can make it. And pretty soon, no. The way that we program today is so different than in the early days. It's made people more powerful. It didn't stop the need for programmers, but programmers work at a higher level now. They can think of their concepts. And with ChatGPT and other types of AI tools, we're not necessarily going to program anymore. Have you seen some of the very powerful chat prompts that people are developing? So when they ask the system, you don't say, I'm looking for a new way of doing something. You give a whole story and you say, give me these 5 examples, and then ask me which example I want more information on, and then give me 5 examples of it, and so on. And it's you're programming by describing something, by a conversation. And if it doesn't give you what you want, then you modify the prompt. And that's a new way of working. No one's ever thought about that. But it's actually not new in some sense. If you're a skilled designer and now a new person joins the company or joins your group, but who isn't very experienced, don't you do the same thing with them? You say, give me this and I'll come back tomorrow and look at it. And you say to yourself, oh God, that's completely wrong. But what you do is you help them. You help them learn. And so you learn to describe it better, and you learn, as a good teacher, you learn how to explain what it is you want better. Well, that's how it's going to be with these new AIs. And we're still learning. My friend Jacob Nielson of the Nielson Norman Group has just written an article about the use of AI to do diagrams and pictures. And he said they're very powerful and very nice, but it's very difficult to tell a story. Because each time you ask, you say, I want to show somebody opening the box, and then I want to show somebody putting it together, and then I want to show the person using it. So you want to show it basically as a story, as a comic story, a comic strip of person opening, doing this, doing that. But the AI, you can say not just what you want the design to do. You can also say, I want to make the cell phone, I'll use a cell phone, lighter, so use different materials, it's lighter. They have to be biodegradable, so it's recyclable. And I want the battery life to be longer. But I also want you to do a projection of sales, of costs, selling price, and potential sales. And that which allows you to convince the executives of a company that you are doing something good. And if you do that often enough, pretty soon the executives say, well, you should be one of us, and you get promoted.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Of course, I'm going to 100% read your book, and I'm going to make sure that a lot of our students read it. We are trying to educate people about design in India by making content in Hindi and in English. What are some topics that you feel that we should cover now in 2024? Are there any things that you would recommend me to learn and all the people who are watching this video, that folks, this is something that you need to double down on so that we can also focus on, studying and teaching that?
I don't like teaching subjects out of context. We learn mathematics and just mathematics. We learn physics and we learn literature, or learn this or that. And as a result, you don't know how they all fit together or what you can do with them. And I say we should teach by projects. Don't teach a topic, teach a project. Because if you do a project, you're going to have to use these other skills. And so you can learn those skills in the context of the project, and now you understand why you're learning them. So and when I teach, I like to give people a problem on day one, a problem that I think they will really be interested in, and I want them to solve it or to do something about it. But I also know they don't have the right knowledge yet. But I ask them to do it on day one, and I want them to report back in a week, because I know they won't know what to do, and they'll do some things, and some things will be wrong or incomplete. And that's what I want. This is not to punish people because they don't know. This is to motivate them. Because if I said, I want you to read chapter 3 of this book, they'll read it, but they don't know why they're reading it. But if I give them a problem and they get stuck and they do it wrong or they don't know what they're about, and I say, read chapter 3, they read it. Oh, yeah, that's very useful. I can use it. Second, I want you to have many different disciplines. Now, in designers, they say, oh, we do projects. We also have industrial designers, and we have graphic designers and interaction designers all together. And that's rare, by the way, but even that's okay. But no, I want you to have engineers there and business people there and work together. We need to understand people. So, we teach design research and how to do studies of design research, but that doesn't teach you about people. So where do you learn about people? Do you go to the psychology department, sociology, anthropology? No, they don't know about people because everybody in the good universities have learned the specialties. So I have a PhD in psychology. Did that teach me about people? No. What was my PhD about? It was about how we hear things. I studied hearing. So I was an expert on how the ear works and some things about that. Now, you want to know what field knows about people most and where you should really bring in people? People who write novels. Because when you write a novel, you have to depict people, everyday people in their lives, and you have to be able to read it and say, yeah, I know people like that. Or I hate those kind of people. Or I really like that. I'd be friends with that person. And because a novelist has to learn how to observe people and see what they do in everyday life, how they scratch themselves, what they're thinking inside their heads versus what they say. They're thinking just the opposite of what they say, and and that's where you should bring a novelist to teach you how to design for people.
That is so fascinating. I've never thought about it that way.
Yeah, well, so that's one of my skills, which is to think about things in novel ways. And one of the ways I'm able to do that is because I have so many wide interests. I'm interested in almost everything. So I do read a lot of fiction. I particularly like science fiction or historical fiction. And I also I do read a lot of books published about design or about technology or about business or about the world. And again, when I wrote this book, I had to read a tremendous amount of things that were new to me. And I learned a tremendous amount, and many people kept sending me information. Again, I have friends all over the world, and they keep telling me things I ought to read, and that's the best way to find relevant things.
That is very, very cool. My last question to you would be that now that you have met so many students, even when you give them your book, even when they read it, are there any gaps or common mistakes that students still make even after reading the right material? Are there some very, very common mistakes that we need to be aware of?
Oh, yes. That because books are not enough to learn by. That a lot of the knowledge is what we call implicit knowledge, is that the books give you what we call explicit knowledge about when you're actually trying to do something. You discover that often the knowledge from the book doesn't work. Here's a good example. In this book, I talk about the double diamond, which is a really good. It's a really good introduction to design. It was developed by in England by the Design Council, and it's widely talked about and used. And I used it. And the double diamond is the first stage, is to understand the real issues. And so you're asked to do something, but you really want to know, well, why was I asked to do that? What's underneath it? What are the problems that led to it? What are the core issues I should really approach? And I should understand that before I start trying to design. And then when I'm doing the design, that's the first diamond. So the diamond is I go up and I experiment on all sorts of different possibilities, and then I come down again and converge on what I think is right. And then I have to do it all over again about possible solutions, and then come down again. Well, it's a really good way of teaching you all of the issues you should be doing. But is it the way you should actually do the work? Nah. Very few people do it that way. In fact, many good designers start with an answer. Now, they say they just say, oh, I understand the problem, and boom, here's a possible solution. But it's important if you do that. See, of course, that's wrong according to everything the double diamond teaches. No, it's not wrong if you know that what you're going to produce is not correct. But what it does is you show this model or sketch or whatever to people, the kind of people that you hope that you're designing for, and they will, and you ask them to try to make believe they're using it, and they will give you all sorts of answers. And they will, in fact, what they will do is they'll teach you what questions you should be asking. By having a real thing in front of them, they can tell you why that doesn't work or what's wrong. So that's a very powerful thing, and it's not written about. I keep wanting to write it, I just don't have time. It's not written about any place that I know of, but it's very valuable. Although it's starting to be, because that's called, it's basically designed by doing. The expertise that you get after years of design, why is a designer who's been out 10 years better than the designer who has learned all the same things but is just starting? And this is not true of design, of just of design. This is true of any field, because you learn all the little things that are not covered in books or not covered in lectures about what works and what doesn't, or little side effects, or that you should change the ordering, or what you do if what you would want to do, you can't do it yet. So what do you do instead? And that's why it takes a lot of practice and to do this. I was at a design conference recently. It was in Shanghai, actually. But one of the speakers asked me, he said, "You're not a designer. What do you design?" And I said, "I design designers." Because I think that, I have designed things, and I'm proud of the fact that I believe I'm a real designer, but I'm not proud of any of the things I design. They're not anything you would know or care about necessarily. They're little things that did make a difference, but what I'm really proud of is that I'm an educator. And so one of the reasons I do all of these podcasts and travels and so on is because I believe that what I'm good at is teaching. And so my books are the major way, because I've had many students, and I do give lectures in front of many people, but a lecture isn't enough to learn. A lecture is a bad way of learning. You have to be doing over time and getting feedback. But a lecture is a good way of motivating people, of inspiring them. But between the lectures and the books, I think I've made a difference in the world.
You have. You've made a huge difference. There are thousands of designers who can vouch for it.
Actually, it's more like millions.
Yeah, millions.
So actually, if you noticed in this new book, so this book, when I dedicated it, I said it's to my students, past, present, and future. The future students I probably won't see. They'll be students through my books.
Before we end this video, here are some notes. It is super sure that AI will change the way designers work, but we still don't know how. Dawn confirms that it will be a powerful tool. A similar pattern was seen with computer-assisted design, CAD, which is widely used by engineers from all over the world. But when it came out, many engineers hated it. Same happened with code compilers. But just how compilers help programmers, AI will also help designers solve high-level problems in lesser time. Next, it is super important to know the basics of prompting AI. In the end, it is all about adding context and setting constraints. Even when a new person joins your company, you do spend time explaining that person what the context is. Similarly, you need to practice prompting. Your CTA is to begin learning the basics of AI tools. We've launched multiple prompting tutorials for ChatGPT bots, Midjourney, and more on our YouTube channel as well as on a free learning platform, howtoprompt.in. Everything is in the description. Next, as a designer, you can eventually use AI to brainstorm on much more complicated and nuanced questions. Instead of just asking how to design a better lighter, you can prompt for ideas to make the same lighter with biodegradable or recyclable materials. You can go super specific with the details, like I want the battery life to be longer, or do a projection of costs, selling price, and potential sales. And the answers you get from these prompts can help you convince the executives in your company. Once you do this enough, very soon the executives will eventually offer you better and better opportunities, which can help you get promoted. Next, instead of just learning different subjects, you should spend time learning via projects. Don't just learn a topic, learn building a project. That is where you will practically blend principles from different fields and apply them together to design something meaningful. When you learn skills in the context of a project, you realize why you are learning them in the first place. Now, if these notes made sense to you, make sure you click on subscribe and hit the bell icon. You can download a free PDF of these notes from the link in description. Thank you so much for sharing all of this, Don. Do you still teach? Is there any way for a student to learn from you in person? Where are you? Where are you in the US?
I'm in the West Coast in the city of San Diego, which is right on the border with Mexico. But
Do you still do offline sessions? Like if somebody had to attend an offline session?
no, I don't. I've retired 5 different times, and I'm trying hard. And at this point, well, I'm getting old, so you may not know how old I am, but uh, in 1 week, I will be 88 years old.
Whoa, that's insane. Amazing.
So the point is, so I'm cutting back on some of my activities, but I recently did make a long trip. I visited a number of polytechnics in Singapore, and then I went to Shanghai for a week, where I'm a honorary professor at Tongji University in Shanghai, and I talked to a lot of my friends at several different institutions in Shanghai. And then I went to Milan, Italy, where at the Politecnico di Milano, and I spent a week there. And then I went to Florence, where I'm also I have many design friends there, and I'm a I'm a member of one of the design companies there. And then I went to Oslo, Norway, to give a talk, and then I went to Dusseldorf, Germany, to work with a company for a while. In about 1 month, I'm going to Geneva, Switzerland, to talk to the Aga Khan Foundation, which is
Please
also
come
trying.
to India. You're traveling everywhere. Why don't you just plan a trip to India?
Well, I have lots of people I'm talking to in India and lots of schools. I'm at Flame is one example, but he's not the only one. And I have lots of friends in Bangalore and and elsewhere through many of the schools, many of the Institute of Design And I have also 17 designers who are my advisors, and they're all over the world, including in India. And as I say, I'm working with 3 or 4 Indian universities, mostly new ones, because new ones can start from scratch and teach things quite differently. And that's more exciting. The old universities throughout the world are very difficult to change. They're well established, and you can't convince the IITs of India that they should change what they're doing because they say we're one of the best universities, well known, famous throughout the world. Well, why should we change? But the same is true of my own university in California. We're one of the best universities in the world. We're not going to change, and etc. But the new ones, so yeah, I've been talking to my advisors about having them accompany me and give me and guide me through India. But and I'll probably come. I cannot
Super,
tell you
super.
when, but
No, I really hope you do.
it will probably be in the next year. But I won't promise it because well, I can't promise things ahead of time because I never know what's going to happen.
Oh, 100%. Looking forward to that. And thank you so much for doing this, Don. And for those of you who are watching this episode, folks, if you document your learnings and tag us on social media, I will be picking 3 students and sending them a hardbound copy of Design for a Better World. I will courier it to your doorstep. So you have to read this book. So make sure you document your learnings, put it on social media, either on LinkedIn or Instagram, tag me, tag Don. We would love to know what you've learned from this episode. And Don, thank you so much for taking out the time for this. I hope you get a chance to check out our channel as well. We've been trying to make content for people who cannot afford an expensive degree, who want to, learn about design on their own. So I will send you the draft of this episode as well. And once you say that it's
Well,
good to go.
let me tell you something. I told you that we're trying to award prizes to young practitioners who are doing something in a community, following humanity-centered design principles, and they have some evidence. They have to collect some evidence that means that they're promising because there's not enough time. We want to give the first awards out in November. That's 1 year from now. Actually, it's a bit less than 1 year from now. So there's not much time. But I want to give awards also to educational groups that are educating people to do this. And so maybe the work you are doing might be eligible for an award.
We will
Now,
100% apply for it. But even if there's somebody watching this video who wants to apply, where do they go?
there's a temporary website. Yes. Go to Norman Award, one word, Norman
Okay.
Award .design.
Oh, wow. What a lovely domain. Oh, very cool. Awesome.
Okay, so this will go away, but I'll make sure that at this address it will automatically move you to the new website.
Awesome. We will 100% spread the word about this even in our community as well.
Okay, well,
Awesome.
thank you. I've enjoyed talking with you.
Thank you so much, Don. And folks, make sure you support Don. Let him know on social media if you learn something from him. And Don, as I said, you've impacted millions of designers. Thank you so much for helping us navigate through our careers. You've done so much for the community.
Thank you very much. I've enjoyed the conversation.
Hope to
So,
see you soon.
uh,
Bye bye.
I'm
If you like this episode, then make sure you watch the next one in this same playlist right here. We've been making some amazing content, and I'm pretty sure that you will also like the next video in queue.